From the truckload quoting page within Tai TMS, you can create a new shipment to instantly display your historical lane average alongside all of the market-leading rating intelligence tools. In just a few clicks, you can adjust the quote, add your margin, select your quote response template, and email an official quote right off to the customer from the same page. Request a demo today at tai-software.com to find out how Tai TMS can optimize your quoting process.
I got friends only wanna talk business. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I've been getting out of work, and I've been shutting down the stores. Yeah, cause when it rains and it pours.
And welcome to Put That Coffee Down, the freight sales show for closers. My name's Kevin Hill. I'm your host for the next 26 minutes. We talk about sales, we talk about the market, we talk about freight brokerage. And we do that with Walter Mitchell, CEO of Tai Software. He's going to be joining us here in a few moments. First of all, I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas and are almost ready to have a happy New Year. 2022 kind of flew by. It was quite a year. It was in the freight markets, in personal lives, it was quite a year. So thankful for that, but looking forward to 2023 and a whole lot of new challenges. And we are going to see some in the freight market, I believe. I have a couple of slides up here to talk about the freight market really quickly as we wrap up 2020. And the first graphic from Sonar is going to show us, if I have it here, is going to be the van contract rate. So this is dry van excluding fuel, and also in the green line. So the white line's van contract excluding fuel. The green line is going to be spot rates excluding fuel as well. And you can see on a relative basis from January 1st, 2020 to right now, contract rates are down 11-12%, and spot rates are down right now 25%. We've had a nice bump up here during peak season, during the holidays over the last couple of weeks. So it's just down 25%. Before Thanksgiving, it was down over 30%, about 35%. And I would imagine that trend is going to go back down as we come through New Year's into January and February, which is always seasonally slow. And I think with capacity out there, it's really going to be loose. In real dollar terms, what does that really mean for contract rates and in spot rates? The next graphic here, the next chart here out of Sonar, we did relative, that first chart. We're going to translate that into real numbers. We're looking at about $2.62 for dry van contract rates. As I said, they've been trending down. They're about 12% down from where they were at the first of the year, and further from that, when you look at the peak, January, February, when those rates were reset, those are about to come due again, and I would imagine we're going to see a falling contract market for dry van rates going into 2023. $1.97, and we got as low in the $1.70s right before Thanksgiving. Will probably trail back down into the $1.70s as we come through into 2023. So it's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a year of both new business, but also retention. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about with Mitch here in a second, is customer service, that customer experience. I've been talking to a lot of players out in the market, a lot of freight brokers. It's all about retention right now. Retaining those clients. It's very expensive, as we all know, is to go out and sign new clients, from prospecting, from the time it takes to negotiate deals, go through contracts, maybe get on an RFP. Takes a lot of time and resources to accomplish that. It's really good whenever you do that, but for your bang for a buck, it's always expanding your current customers, right? Growing with that. If you're moving 2 or 3 loads a week with a customer, moving 4 to 5 weeks or 4 to 5 a week is a much better option than going out and securing a new customer, taking those time and resources to bring those away, landing someone new working through those kinks and adding 1 or 2 truckloads a week from them. So, not saying you shouldn't do that, but certainly growing your existing book is always important, and that customer retention right now for 2023 is going to be very important. So, with that, I'm not sure if we have Walter here. Do we have Walter? Okay. Okay, so we'll have him in just a second. Right before I started the show, I was perusing through my phone, as I always do, came up on a really good article from Inc.com. And I always, there's Entrepreneur, there's Inc., there's a couple other kind of business, salesy focused websites that I always check in because they have really good articles, maybe recaps of books that I haven't read yet, or what have you. But this one was about emotional intelligence, and in sales and in business, emotional intelligence is key. It's the soft skills. The soft skills, you have the hard skills of mathematics and I don't know if English is in there, but you have those math and scientific STEM skills. But on the soft side, you have public speaking, you have English, and then you have emotional intelligence. And what emotional intelligence really is just getting along with people. So go check out that article. It's four ways to have a better career with emotional intelligence. And one of those is a two-way door decision. That means that whatever decision you take, you're not stuck with that. You can always have optionality and build in that optionality. Whenever you make a request from people, it's always good to have an out for that person. So the rule here is, but you are free to say no. Always give people a choice, right? A choice. Sun Tzu from The Art of War also said that, always give an enemy in battle a place to retreat. Awkward conversation rule, talking about big ideas, goals, dreams, ambitions, having those deep conversations with people really makes really good connections. And then the fourth is no complaints. Living a life without complaining. No one wants to hear your complaints anyway. Everyone's focused on their own complaints, but you don't have to share those complaints at all. So those are 4 rules. I'll have that article after our interview here with Mitch, Walter Mitchell, better known as Mitch. He's the CEO and one of the founders over at Tai Software. He's joining us right now to talk about customer service. How are you doing today, Mitch?
Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me again, Kevin. It's nice to see you.
It's good to see you virtually again. We did see each other in person in Chattanooga last month. It seems like a lifetime ago in some respects, but it was just early November here in Chattanooga. We finally got to meet face to face, didn't we?
We did. It was really great too, and you guys put on such a great event in Chattanooga. It was a real pleasure to be involved in it, and got so much value out of it. So much good information, so many good people to talk to. And like you said, we got to meet face to face. So definitely a special event.
Well, we did. And you guys had an outstanding demo as always. So, and that's always fun, getting all the tech companies out doing demos. And yours went very well as well. You can catch that on tv.freightwaves.com or live.freightwaves.com. We have the video versions there as well. But right now we're going to talk about customer service and retention, customer experience, those types of themes. And I guess, do you want to start us off, Mitch, with kind of your opening thoughts?
Yeah, what you always get with me is how do we use technology to help make our job better, right? To help make the sales process a little easier, to just kind of relieve a little bit of the pressure, right? And you were kind of talking about these goals and ambitions, and it relates similar. I was just thinking about this the other day as I'm reflecting on how my goals have gone for 2022, what kind of progress I've made personally and professionally. And one of the things I was thinking about is a lot of the books that I read this year were good and really helped me out, but some of them only were incremental. I'd pick up 1 or 2 things out of a book. But what I realized is that incremental couple percentage increases on each thing that I add to my toolbox really make a difference, because by the time you get that to 10 or 20% of additional tools, now you're really making a difference in the way it goes. And so relating that back to the technology, that's why I love talking about how can we use technology just to make ourselves 10% better or 5% better and increment a couple of those together. So that's what you're going to hear, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was totally agreement with that. Those incremental kind of steps. At a certain point, that's all you can really take, because you've gotten to that that point, right, where it's just incremental steps, and sometimes adding 2% can be a gain of 20% in a lot of ways, right? So, and you never know where that. And sorry about that. Always technical difficulties. They seem to follow me around. But I think we still have Mitch here. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
All right.
So,
back in action.
Yeah, we were back in action. So we were talking about incremental change and how that relates to customer service, and as always, technology, right?
Right. And so when we look at some of the customer service side of it, we want to be focused on the sales process, right? We want our salespeople to be spending their time closing. We want them spending time building relationships. And so when we look at these incremental tools, some of the things that we can do to help our customer service is automating responses to our customers. So like thank you notes is one of my favorite ones to bring up. We can put thank you notes into a lot of our emails so that that's automatically triggered after shipment's delivered, and just send another email, within a day or 20 or a few hours after the shipment's delivered, and say, hey, thank you for your business. Really appreciate it. And then, of course, the tool right underneath that, or the most important line underneath it, is there any other freight that I can help you with today? Is there anything else I can help you with? Anything that I can give you a quote on, right? Any of those types of questions. And if we can automate that with technology, then it gives us that opportunity to just be a little bit better, save a little bit of our time from the customer service side, and still provide great customer service, but then turn it back over and give us that time to do some new lead generation, or follow up on new business, or even spend time quoting and trying to win some of the business that's maybe pending.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, because those thank you emails, those follow-ups, those call to actions are very important to drive business, but they're also very time-consuming as well, right? So
that's right.
If you're spending all your time doing that, then you aren't reaching out to new customers. You aren't reaching out and offering a more higher value service to your existing customers. And certainly you're not managing the freight on the road and keeping tabs on that. But that is a very important part of the sales process, or those thank you notes, that constant communication.
Yeah, exactly. And, just because we automate it doesn't mean it's less important. It just means it's very repetitive. And when these things are repetitive, the technology is great. It gives us a great opportunity to use the technology to help facilitate that and help keep that moving forward. So even though those tasks are super important, those repetitive nature of it makes it real easy for us to automate. And that's what you should be looking to technology to do in that side, on the customer service side, is those incremental pieces.
Yeah, those incremental pieces, and also it makes it, it's repetitive, so it makes it cringy to actually sit down and do, so it doesn't get done, which is maybe the greatest sin of the entire process, right? We were talking about collecting data. We were talking about this the last time you were on too. I think is collecting data to really be able to tell what wins and what loses, right? What works and what doesn't work, and how important that is, and how you can use technology to automate that process as well, and really quantify it in a historic term.
Yeah, for sure. And that's this is an area where it kind of gets a little tough, right? Is because sometimes we don't want to enter all of the quotes into our TMS, or track it, and because we feel like there's an extra burden in that time it takes to create the shipment or to track the quotes that we have. But if we don't keep track of them, then we don't really have any way to keep track of our win-loss ratios. We don't really have any way to see how well are our campaigns doing? How well are we doing with this customer? And those analytics and the data around that can be tremendously valuable so that we understand, even when a customer calls us, we understand things like, I'm going to have to quote them 10 shipments to win one. That's an important thing to know. Or maybe I'm this customer, I don't really even have to quote because I win 100% of them. And having that information at our fingertips is really important. So again, another place you can use technology to give you another tool to make your life a little better is you can use things that will take your emails and forward them to your TMS to create shipments out of them. So you can take away that extra step of having to enter all the information in your TMS and then click to save it and then run the quote. Let's make it so you just forward your email into your TMS, let your TMS generate the shipment for you, and then update the shipment. So now you've cut out 3 or 4 steps in the process, but you're tracking all of those quotes and taking advantage of the additional analytical information that comes from it.
And not only are you cutting out those steps, those 2 or 3 steps that nobody wants to do, but you're also making sure you capture that information correctly outside of that human error of you.
Yeah.
You start entering something into TMS and your phone rings and you get diverted into something else, and then you come back to it, and then all of a sudden you have to do it really fast, or you just do it really fast, whether it's right or not doesn't really matter at that point. It just needs to be done. And but you get cleaner data to where you can actually manage the process. You can see what you win on, what you lose on, and you can really quantify your operations, which is something that freight brokerages traditionally have a hard time doing.
That's exactly right. That's well said. And being able to take a look at that and analyze it is so important. And we're in an age of data, right? I mean, data is one of the most powerful tools that we can use and that we have and being able, collecting data is the first step in that. If you're not collecting the data, you can't do anything with it. The second step is analyzing the data and using it. But the collection part is so important, and making sure the collection is accurate. Because as you said, we do get a little bit caught up in things sometimes. And so then the quality of data that we're entering by hand can definitely diminish real quickly, or it just doesn't get done, right? And because it's a friction point for us. So let's find a way to streamline that. Let's take that off of our plate completely so that the data's in there. And then we've eliminated that first half. And now we can focus on the analytics, which is a lot more fun anyway. The analytics part is what brings us the real value. But without the data collection, the analytics means nothing.
You're exactly right. And the analytics is the best part of the entire process, because we always want to answer questions, how we can improve operations, how we can improve sales. And certainly it all ties back into maybe the key metric of key metrics is how to make the best margin, the most optimal margin, however you want to phrase that. That's where it's always gearing back to, no matter what industry you're in. But certainly in freight brokerage, where it's that gross margin is supremely important. All of these automations, data collection, analysis goes back to really that decision, right? You have your win-loss ratios and your margin. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. And the two are tied together really nicely as well, right? Knowing our win-loss ratios for a customer really helps us decide what kind of margin should we be putting on this shipment, especially when we're spot quoting. And so some of the tools that we can add to our tool chest in that side is making sure that we have a way to generate both historical information and all the tools out there that are available, and bringing them all into one place. Right. So, for example, Parade has some really amazing functionality to help us communicate with our carriers. Green Screen's another example of a company that has some great tools. And then we have our load boards. DAT is a super important load board and has some great rating tools. And then obviously Sonar is one of the leaders in the space with such a tremendous amount of information that's there. So when we do get to the point that we're looking at these win-loss ratios and then starting to drive margin, let's bring these tools together and let's make sure that we're using every tool that we have so that when we are generating a rate for our customer and we're looking at the margins for our customers or that specific shipment, we're putting ourselves in the position where we can win, and we can win the most often because we're being smart about how we're generating it. We're doing some of that analytics on the fly or letting our tools bring that information together to give us suggestions so we can combine that information with our own expertise and respond back with the winning quote and then closing that shipment, close that sale, win that shipment, and move on to the next one.
And I think that sums up 2023. I firmly believe 2023 will all be about the rates. Rating tools will become supremely important in 2023 that they have in 2022. That's just going to gather steam because I think rating tools are much more desirable. I think I don't know if they're more important, if that's the right word for it, but they are very desirable because in loose markets where competition on price is fierce, much more so than the last 2 years where it was capacity, right? You come into leaner times, looser markets, prices go down, and buying transportation or buying transportation at the best price becomes important again. It wasn't so much important just get the truck in 2020 and 2021, going back into those days of 2019 where buying it at the market price, at the right price is going to be very important. So the rating tools and kind of aggregating those is you're going to see a lot of action, I think, in 2023 on that product.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, it's difficult to say what 23 is going to look like overall, right? There may be some surprises. Maybe it'll be a really tough economy. Maybe we'll get lucky and it won't be super tough. Who knows? There's no crystal ball to tell us. But what I do know is that it's for sure going to be harder on our sales teams. It's for sure going to take more work to close the same deals and to move the same number of shipments or to keep those moving. And so if we do focus on expanding our tool chest, return back to some of the things that we know are good sales techniques, good sales strategies, good practices, and we make sure we focus on those and focus on those tools. If we do get lucky and the economy shoots up and freight ends up moving really well in 23, well, those tools are just going to help us anyway. But if it goes the other way and we get pushed into a little tougher times and it continues to see some tougher directions like you're talking about, then those tools are going to give us that edge. So in either case, we win by refining our tools, by improving the tool set we have, by leveraging technology to make our company better. We really can't lose by focusing on those types of things.
Well said. That's very well said. And I know I jump off into 2023 and say it's going to be an awful year for freight brokerages. It's going to be, it's going to be a very loose market. I know the beginning of 2023 will. How it ends up, I have no clue. And I try not to make that prognosis, but I can get a little bearish sometimes. Yeah,
it's easy to look bearish in this kind of market. So I'm having a hard time with it too. I'm trying to stay positive, but it's very likely that we're going to be having a very bearish market and it'll be a tough year. So we'll deal with it, and we know it's coming, and we'll fight through it.
It's all about fundamentals, though, right? If you have the fundamentals down, then you have it down pat. So thank you, Mitch, as always, for coming on, put that coffee down, sharing your thoughts with us. And you can go to tai-software.com to learn more. But thanks again.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. It's a pleasure as always.
As always. Definitely. And that, the Inc. article, I think I have it up right here on my phone. Hopefully I do. I don't. But 4 things for emotionally intelligent people. Check that out. But that's going to wrap it for Put That Coffee Down. We'll see you next week.
I got friends only wanna talk business. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I got expensive, cause winning's expensive. I've been reading all the war, and I've been shutting down the stars. Yeah,